welcome to another deep dive where you bring us the sources and we dig in and we try to extract some golden nuggets of information for you.
Absolutely.
And today's topic is very interesting.
It is.
You've sent us on a quest into the past.
That's right.
Back to the year 2003.
Back in time.
Specifically the April 2003 issue of Muscle and Fitness magazine.
Yes.
And this was their 2003 M&F Rock Hard Challenge.
Uh-huh.
So you've provided us with excerpts of the first month of this 3-month program.
Right.
Kind of outlining the training and the nutrition plan.
That's right.
And it's a really interesting glimpse back at what the thinking was back then. So what's our mission today?
Well,
How are we trying to figure out?
Yeah. For this deep dive, we're going to try to get a picture of what this month 1 challenge was all about. How did they structure the workouts? What kind of nutritional advice were they giving? And ultimately, what were they promising? You know, what kind of results could someone expect if they jumped into this program aiming to, as they said, burn fat, build muscle, and transform your body with their physique tweaking, training, and nutrition blueprint?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's unpack that blueprint.
Yeah, let's unpack it. And, right off the bat, it wasn't just a random collection of exercises.
No.
They had a system. They had a structure and a methodology.
Yeah, this was a structured and well-thought-out program, and it wasn't their first rodeo either. Oh. I mean, they had done a few of these challenges before, and it echoed, some of their previous ones as well.
Yeah. So getting into the workout portion.
Sure.
What was the basic structure for this first month?
So it was based on a fundamental 3-day split. So one day was focused on pressing movements. Things like your chest presses, your shoulder presses, triceps extensions.
Okay.
Another day was all about pulling, so your back exercises, your bicep curls.
Okay.
And the third day, they targeted legs.
Right, yeah. Pretty standard, tried and true way to organize things.
Pretty typical.
But I recall reading something about a major plot twist.
Oh, yes.
What was so surprising about the workout plan?
Yeah, the major twist was that they implemented a microcycle system.
Okay.
Which meant that your training routine wasn't going to be the same week after week.
Interesting.
It was deliberately varied.
Okay.
What's interesting here is that even back then, they recognized the importance of avoiding adaptation. And that's a key principle in modern training as well.
Yeah.
The idea was that by changing the training style, the sets, the reps, the weight used, and the overall intensity each went, the body wouldn't get too accustomed to one specific stimulus, potentially preventing plateaus.
Right, yeah. So you're not just showing up and doing the same thing.
Right.
Each time, it was a more dynamic approach.
It was more dynamic.
Can you walk us through what each of those initial 4 weeks looked like?
Sure. So week 1 was all about building a foundation of muscle strength and endurance.
Okay.
And so this involved using weights that were moderately heavy, but the number of repetitions per set was higher. It was in the 15 to 20 range.
Okay.
Rest periods between sets were kept relatively short, around 60 seconds, just to keep that overall intensity higher.
Gotcha.
They also integrated sprint intervals for cardio on those lifting days.
Gotcha.
And there were 2 additional days that were dedicated to just continuous moderate intensity cardio and some ab work, with Thursday and Sunday marked as rest days.
Okay.
So it was a pretty high volume start to get the body working and improves that work capacity.
Okay, so ease in.
Yeah.
And build some stamina.
Yeah, build that foundation.
Yeah, and what about week 2? What was the shift?
So week 2 shifted the focus to maximum muscle hypertrophy, which is basically maximizing muscle growth.
Okay.
Here, the weights would be relatively heavier than the previous week. The repetition range dropped to a more growth-promoting 10 to 12 reps per set.
Okay.
Rest periods were a bit longer, allowing for more recovery between those heavier sets, and they were ranging from 60 to 90 seconds.
Right.
They continued with those high-intensity sprint intervals following the weight training.
Okay.
And just like week 1, there were 2 days for cardio and abs, with Thursday and Sunday as rest days.
Gotcha.
It's worth noting that the Wednesday interval session that week was specified as being different from the Monday and Friday sessions, suggesting they were even fine-tuning the cardio within the week.
Interesting. A little tweak there.
Yeah, a little tweaked.
And then came week 3, and it sounds like this is where the intensity really went up.
Yes, week 3 was dedicated to heavy high-intensity strength training.
Yeah.
So the rep range dropped significantly to just 6 to 8 reps per set.
Wow.
And to accommodate lifting heavier loads, the rest periods were also the longest of the month.
Okay.
Those range from 90 to 120 seconds.
Gotcha.
Again, consistent with the previous weeks, sprint intervals followed the weight training.
Yeah.
Cardio and abs were scheduled for Tuesday and Saturday.
Okay.
Thursday and Sunday remaining as rest days.
Gotcha.
This phase was really about challenging the nervous system and recruiting those high-threshold muscle fibers for pure strength gains.
So we have a clear progression.
Yeah.
Higher reps, shorter rests.
That's right.
For endurance.
Yeah.
Then we had moderate reps.
Yeah.
For growth. And then lower reps, longer rest.
Yeah.
For strength. Week 4.
Yeah.
This one sounded very different.
This was a change of pace.
Yeah.
It was designated as a power circuit week.
Okay.
And this involved performing a sequence of 10 specific exercises consecutively with absolutely no rest in between.
Right.
You complete all 10 exercises for 10 repetitions each.
Mm-hmm.
And then you took a 2 to 3 minute rest before repeating the entire circuit 2 more times. For a total of 3 rounds.
Okay.
Cardio and abs were still included twice that week, but the entire weekend was for rest and recovery.
10 exercises back to back?
Yeah.
No rest.
It's a lot.
This sounds incredibly intense.
It is. Yeah.
Do you think somebody coming in off the street?
Yeah. That's a great question.
Or even somebody coming in from a more traditional routine?
Yeah.
Would they be at risk of injury?
They might be.
Doing something like this so early on?
I mean, while the program likely assumed a base level of fitness, jumping into a high-intensity circuit like that without proper preparation could certainly increase the risk of injury.
Yeah.
It highlights the importance of listening to your body.
Yeah.
Potentially scaling back the intensity or the number of rounds.
Yeah.
If needed, especially when introducing a new training style.
Yeah, something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, can you list out what those 10 exercises were?
Sure. So the power circuit consisted of barbell squat, pull up, push up, squat jump, pull down to front, dip, then barbell squat again, upright row, push up again, and finally squat jump again.
Okay.
So as you can see...
So we're hitting all the major muscle groups?
All the major muscle groups using a combination of barbell and body weight movements.
And repeating some of the exercises within the circuit.
Yeah.
Probably adds to the fatigue.
Definitely.
Okay, now you mentioned the specific exercises for the other weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks 1, 2, and 3.
It's just a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Can you give us a rundown of some of the key exercises they prescribe for each muscle group during those weeks?
Yeah, let's start with leg day.
Okay.
So across those first 3 weeks, the foundational exercises included the barbell squat, Romanian deadlift, and dumbbell lunge.
Oh, yeah.
To target the quads and hamstrings more directly.
Yeah.
They also incorporated leg extension and lying leg curl machines.
Okay.
As well as standing calf raises for the lower legs. And then in week 3, they introduced the hack squat. Adding another variation for the quads.
So we're hitting the legs from all
every angle.
Angles. And as the weeks progressed, the sets and reps changed.
They were manipulated each week to align with that overall training goal.
Yeah.
We discussed. So for instance, in week 1, you might have seen 4 sets of 15-20 reps for barbell squats.
Okay.
Shifting to 3 sets of 10-12 in week 2.
Okay.
And then maybe increasing the weight for 4 sets of 6-8 in week 3.
Okay.
So we see that consistent pattern.
Yeah. So decreasing reps.
Yep.
And presumably increasing weight. As the weeks progress.
Which makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
For developing endurance.
Yeah.
Then size, then strength.
Yeah. What about the push day?
Okay. So for push day.
So chest, shoulders, triceps.
Yep. For the pressing movements, the mainstays were the bench press, incline dumbbell press, and seated dumbbell press.
Okay.
And they also included dips.
Which is a great body weight compound exercise.
Yeah.
Week 2 added incline dumbbell flies.
Okay.
Which target the chest muscles from a different angle.
Okay.
As well as close grip bench press to emphasize the triceps. Dumbbell lateral raises were also introduced in week 2.
Okay.
To work those lateral deltoids.
Okay.
Close grip bench press continued into week 3, and lying French presses were used across weeks 1 and 2 for further triceps development.
Okay, so hitting the triceps hard.
Yeah, from all angles again.
And again, those sets and reps adjusted weekly.
Adjusted weekly.
To match that intended training effect.
Yeah.
And finally, let's talk about the pull day.
All right, pull day.
Back and biceps.
So back and biceps.
What exercises were in that mix?
For the pulling movements, they consistently use the pull down to front and seated cable row.
Okay.
Throughout the first 3 weeks, hitting the lats and upper back.
Okay.
The bent over barbell row was another key exercise for overall back development.
Upright rows were included in all 3 weeks, primarily targeting the upper traps and deltoids.
Okay.
For biceps, the incline dumbbell curl was a constant, and week 3 added pull-ups as a challenging compound exercise that also heavily involves the back.
Okay.
Week 2 also incorporated barbell shrugs for the traps and standing barbell curls for more direct biceps work.
Gotcha. So really comprehensive selection of compound exercises forming the core of the program.
Absolutely.
Some isolation movements sprinkled in. And that, again, smart manipulation of sets and reps. Now, they also incorporated cardio into the program.
They did.
And there were 3 different types prescribed.
Yes.
What did those entail and how are they integrated?
So cardio A was continuous moderate intensity. And this involved a 5-minute warm-up followed by 20 to 25 minutes of sustained cardiovascular exercise. They suggested things like running, cycling, or using an elliptical machine and then a 5-minute cool down. Cardio B was interval training I.
Okay.
This started with a 5-minute warm-up, followed by 7 cycles of a 1-minute high-intensity sprint, followed by a 2-minute jog for active recovery.
Gotcha.
Totaling 21 minutes of intervals, and concluding with a 5-minute cool down.
Okay.
Cardio C, interval training 2, was similar,
but
with 10 cycles of a shorter 30-second sprint, followed by a 1-minute jog for recovery.
Gotcha.
Totaling 15 minutes of intervals, again with that 5-minute warm-up and cool down.
So the more intense interval training is consistently paired with those weight training days.
It is, and I think that was likely intended to maximize fat burning, while the body was also being challenged to build and maintain muscle.
Okay, makes sense.
The continuous moderate intensity cardio might have been used on separate days to improve overall cardiovascular health without interfering as much with recovery from the strength workouts.
Makes sense, So strategic pairing there. Now, beyond just outlining the workouts, the article also gave some advice.
It did.
To those undertaking the challenge.
Right.
What were some of the key recommendations?
They gave a lot of great advice. First, they stressed that the main goal was to preserve lean muscle tissue while reducing body fat. They advised against the common mistake of increasing reps when the program called for lower to moderate ranges, as that could detract from the specific strength or hypertrophy goals of that fund. They also cautioned participants against adding extra exercises, particularly isolation exercises for smaller muscle groups like the arms, emphasizing that achieving a leaner physique primarily comes from working the large muscle groups with compound movements, which burn more calories. Proper exercise form was also highlighted as being significantly more important than lifting the heaviest possible weight. Muscles respond to tension, which is best achieved through correct technique. They also advised against substituting exercises, emphasizing that the program was carefully constructed around specific multi-joint movements for a reason. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, they underscored the absolute necessity of consistency in completing every scheduled workout each week to see the intended results.
It all comes back to consistency.
Consistency is key.
These are all
timeless
and effective pieces of advice.
They are.
Let's talk about the other big component, nutrition. The article emphasizes that it's a key ally in the quest for a rock-hard body. So what were the fundamental nutritional principles that they were advocating?
So the nutrition section began by emphasizing the critical link between what you consume and what you expend through exercise. They actually quoted Dr. Dan Bernardo, who explained that blood sugar levels tend to fluctuate roughly every 3 hours, and that if we don't eat frequently enough, to maintain those levels, the body has backup systems that can lead to the catabolism of lean muscle mass for energy and a state of being overly hungry, which can lead to, poor food choices and overeating.
You get too hungry.
That's right.
And
you make bad decisions.
You're not thinking straight.
No.
So what was their primary recommendation to combat this?
The central principle they advocated was consistent meal timing.
Okay.
They recommended eating more frequently, ideally every 3 to 4 hours throughout the day.
Okay.
And the rationale was to provide a steady supply of nutrients to the muscles, support recovery, and maintain more stable blood sugar levels, which in turn can help manage appetite and prevent those eating hungry scenarios.
So smaller, regular meals.
That's right.
To keep everything fueled.
Yep. Fuel the body, keep hunger at bay.
Yeah, and they also had 4 weekly nutritional challenges.
Yes, they did.
What were those all about?
Yeah, so each week introduced a specific focus to help gradually build those healthier eating habits. So week 1 was all about setting the stage by stocking up on healthy whole foods.
Yeah.
They actually provided a pretty detailed list of examples, including lean protein sources like water-packed tuna, lean ground meats, and eggs.
Yeah.
Low-fat dairy options, convenient protein bars and powders, a wide variety of fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables, and whole grains. And they even had the practical tip of having a small cooler available to carry those prepared meals when you're on the go.
Yeah.
So making healthy choices more accessible.
Right. Yeah. So preparation is key.
That's right.
What about week 2?
Week 2 built on this foundation by focusing on food preparation. So the challenge was to prepare larger batches of healthy foods in advance.
Gotcha.
Things like grilled chicken breasts, hard-boiled eggs, or cooked lean ground beef.
Yeah.
And then refrigerate them in single-serving containers for easy and convenient meals and snacks throughout the week.
So being prepared is a cornerstone of consistent healthy eating.
That's right.
What was the focus of week 3?
Week 3's challenge was designed to increase self-awareness around eating habits. So participants were asked to keep a detailed food journal for 3 full days, meticulously recording everything they ate and drank.
Wow.
As well as the times.
Yeah.
The goal here was to identify existing eating patterns, pinpoint any areas that might need improvement, such as long gaps between meals, insufficient intake of fruits and vegetables, or a lack of lean protein, and gain a more realistic picture of their current dietary intake.
Right, yeah, and then you can analyze it. And adjust as needed.
Yeah.
And week 4?
Week 4 focused on liquid calories. The emphasis was on reducing the intake of sugary drinks, particularly sodas, and also limiting fruit juices and smoothies due to their concentrated sugar content. They even provided a stark example of how much added sugar and empty calories can be consumed from just 3 regular sodas per day.
Yeah, so they're making these gradual, step-by-step changes each week.
That's right.
It seems like a much more sustainable approach.
It is.
Than just drastically changing everything overnight.
I think so, too.
They also touched on this idea of making small sacrifices in your diet. What do they mean by that?
Yeah, the concept of small sacrifices was about encouraging participants to make one healthier substitution or choice at each meal or snack. For example, when eating out. This could involve simple swaps like asking for salad dressing on the side, choosing grilled instead of fried options, or selecting water over soda. Similarly, at the grocery store, they suggested taking a moment to review your selections and maybe putting back one item that was particularly high in unhealthy fats, added sugars, or excessive salt. You know, these small conscious decisions made consistently over time can collectively lead to significant improvements in overall dietary quality.
Right, so those little tweaks here and there can really add up.
They can.
In the long run. And again, this idea of being prepared, planning ahead.
Absolutely.
I think they even mentioned Susan Kundrat.
They did.
Talking about portioning out single servings.
Yep, and doing that advanced cooking.
Yeah, so having those healthy options ready.
That's right.
Minimizes the temptation to reach for the less nutritious choices.
When hunger strikes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, they didn't just stop there.
No, they did.
They actually provided sample 5-day meal plans.
They did. Quite comprehensive.
And even suggested calorie targets.
Yes.
Based on gender and body weight.
That's right.
Can you give us a general overview of what those meal plans looked like?
Sure. So they included these comprehensive 5-day meal plans designed by Susan Kundrat, a registered dietitian. They offered 3 different daily calorie levels. 1,800, 2,100, and 2,400 calories.
Gotcha.
With general recommendations on which plan might be most suitable based on whether you are male or female and your approximate body weight and activity level.
Okay, so they kind of tailored it.
Yeah, they tailored it a bit.
Based on, your stats.
Yeah, based on your individual needs.
And they gave specific examples of meals and snacks to be consumed throughout the day.
Yeah, demonstrating that structured approach to eating every 3-4 hours.
Yeah, they're big on.
And incorporating those types of healthy foods they recommend.
Yeah, the timing of the meals.
Absolutely.
And they even broke down the average daily macronutrient targets.
Yep.
Calories, protein, carbohydrates, and fat.
Yep.
For each of those calorie levels.
For juice level, that's right.
What were those approximate targets?
Okay, so for the 1,800 calorie plan, the average daily breakdown was around 1,802 calories.
Okay.
With approximately 102 grams of protein, 248 grams of carbohydrates, and 48 grams of fat.
Yeah.
The 2,100 calorie plan averaged about 212 calories per day, with roughly 125 grams of protein, 280 grams of carbohydrates, and 57 grams of fat.
Gotcha.
And the highest calorie plan, at 2,400 calories, provided an average of 2,404 calories, with approximately 146 grams of protein, 317 grams of carbohydrates, and 65 grams of fat.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see a good emphasis on protein.
There is.
Across all the plans.
Which is crucial for muscle maintenance and growth, especially when combined with the strength training program.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see this comprehensive approach to fitness and nutrition laid out, in a mainstream magazine over 20 years ago.
It's amazing.
It really highlights that so many of the fundamental principles.
That's right.
Of achieving a healthy and fit physique.
Yeah.
They're timeless.
Timeless. Yeah.
And, when we look back at this first month of the 2003 MNF Rock Hard Challenge, we see a very structured, progressive strategy.
Yeah, all structured.
The workout plan. Utilizing that microcycle concept.
To provide those varied stimuli.
Yeah.
Yeah, and prevent that adaptation.
And the nutrition guidelines focused on building consistent, well-timed eating habits through those gradual, sustainable changes.
Yeah, gradual and sustainable.
This first month seems to have been about establishing a solid foundation.
It does.
Both in terms of physical conditioning.
Yeah.
With those varied weekly workouts. That built endurance, stimulated initial growth. It kind of hinted at increasing strength.
Hinted at things to come.
Yeah. And in terms of cultivating those healthier eating patterns.
Yes.
Through the weekly nutritional challenges.
Absolutely.
So this was setting the stage.
It was. Month 1 was definitely setting the stage for the subsequent 2 months of the program, aiming to build upon that initial base to further enhance muscle growth, increase strength and power, and solidify those fundamental nutritional habits for long-term success.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the first month, the 2003 MNF Rock Hard Challenge, it leaves us with a final thought.
Okay.
Considering this structured, multifaceted approach from over 20 years ago, what enduring principles of fitness and nutrition do you observe that are still relevant and effective today? And how might these insights, even from a vintage magazine, inform your own journey towards achieving your health and fitness aspirations? It's a reminder that, specific trends and technologies may evolve the core principles of hard work, consistency, and a balanced approach to training and nutrition.